this time I am a presenter here, and Professor Uliana Luschch from Department of Philosophy and Economics of Danilo Halicki Lviv National Medical University from Ukraine will give a lecture on the problem of free will in Westworld TV series.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear visitors of our conference. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very glad to be here with you, among you, to participate in such interesting event. That is a great pleasure for me, and I'm grateful to the organization committee for invitation. So today I choose the topic problem of free will in Westworld TV series, introducing philosophy through popular culture. So actually the problem is, should philosophy be popularized? Meaning, should it remain within academic framework, or should it be more close to people and their lives? Because in fact, if it is popularized, is there a danger to be simplified? Meaning to philosophical questions, philosophical problems, if we want to put them in a simple way, maybe we can just miss the whole problem at all. So here is a real danger, and here is a real subject for discussion among contemporary philosophers. Moreover, I would like to speak about such question: can philosophy be introduced through popular culture? So if we want to popularize philosophy, can we use popular culture as actually the tool of this popularization? Some philosophers criticize this idea, this possibility, but in fact, popular culture is omnipresent, and in our days, no matter how hard we try, we cannot avoid popular culture. Popular culture means that everybody likes it, yes, popular. And at the same time, it should be entertaining in order to remain popular. Popular culture is something which is created not for ages, like high art, for example, but for this moment, to be entertaining right now, here, for the majority of people. However, as you know from history of philosophy, probably Plato was criticizing this mixture of philosophy and entertainment, because he advocated that the point of view that that philosophy is relevant to difficult activities of rational soul. So it cannot be like accompanied with pleasures, with entertainment and enjoyment. And he believed that if we include this enjoyment, entertainment, in this case, actually our intellect will lose the governance over the whole person. So some philosophers, contemporary philosophers, they consider popular culture as a peril. So they believe that that is a danger, and we cannot use popular culture to spread philosophy. However, such philosophers may risk actually to miss an important layer of contemporary human life, since popular culture shapes the content of our thoughts and actually patterns of our behavior as well. With the advent of mass technology, distribution of popular culture has become very easy, and in this way, in such case, we can actually consider these tools of popular culture as tools to communicate philosophy as well, because everyone is involved in with these tools, yes, internet, television and so on, and that is how we can use mass technologies to popularize philosophy. Actually, I belong to that group of philosophers who believe that we can engage philosophy and pop culture. We can bring philosophy to people's life through popular culture. So in this case, we can say that we can bring academic philosophers back to the agora, which today can be, let's say, the shopping mall or something like that. So philosophy can become closer to the variety of people. Of course, there are some objections to such an intention, because one of them may be that, for example, TV shows, the example of popular culture that I'm talking about today, are too entertaining to be philosophical. Yes, so, well, they must be simple, easy to grasp, and that is why they are not convenient for popularizing philosophy. However, the point is that not everyone can manage to read a difficult philosophical text. I mean, those people who are not philosophers, yes? There are a few who can keep thinking and keep focusing while reading a philosophical, difficult philosophical text. Meanwhile, when you are watching just a TV series or a movie, right, you are following the narrative of a drama, you are following the plot, you are emotionally engaged with some characters, and in such a way you can easily grasp the philosophical content of the movie, the philosophical idea. And in this case, you are not noticing this difficult intellectual work which is required. And also emotional engagement, some other objections against popular culture TV series in particular as a tool for popularizing philosophy is that emotional engagement induces the audience to wish of a certain kind of conclusion, philosophical, ethical conclusion. It means that when you are emotionally engaged in the TV series, for example, yes, you are, you choose your hero, yes, the character you like the most, and in this case you might, you might have a point of view which is not yours, but which is the one which this TV series or the movie suggests you to believe, suggests you to choose. However, for example, one of contemporary researchers, Noel Carroll, believes that narratives of popular culture activates beliefs that are already held by people. So it is very difficult while watching a movie, watching a TV series, to to conclude about something that you do not believe besides this movie. So when it comes to the problem of good and evil, human behavior, moral values, and so on, in all of these cases, we evaluate characters we like according to those principles, ethical, moral principles that we already hold, but maybe we are not quite aware of. So the movie helps us to actually, in this case, to discover ourselves, to discover the philosophical theory we are following in life. Because all of us, we are following these theories, but not always we realize, indeed, we are aware of that part of philosophy in our life. Moreover, another argument for the engagement of popular culture and philosophy is that nobody can know everything, especially in the contemporary world when knowledge increases all the time. Popular culture actually forms, the forms of popular culture actually provide different ways to learn easier about many things of different academic disciplines, including philosophy. So you may watch a particular TV series, a particular movie, and you can easily learn about some scientific theories, some scientific facts, which you do not have time to learn from the textbook, for example. Moreover, that is the easier way. So the forms of popular culture, such as movies and TV series, they really have a function to inform people, inform the audience about different scientific philosophical ideas, and also to reflect different social changes, for example. In this case, I will today try to prove that narratives of popular culture may indeed provide means for doing philosophy, for conducting philosophy. Of course, we cannot study popular culture as philosophy, because these are different things. That would be an abuse. Popular culture is not philosophy. We should rather use popular culture as example for popular culture narratives as examples for communicating philosophy and philosophical ideas. So philosophy can be conducted through popular narratives. The point is that when we have a strong philosophical idea in the movie, for instance, or in TV series, we have popular narrative, we have a plot, plus we have emotional engagement in the process, right? And thus we, as the result, we receive recognition, learning, acceptance of different philosophical positions, different philosophical ideas that in everyday life this person would not have time, or I don't know, for some other reasons, learn from the textbook. I take the example, I would like to speak about the example of the Westworld HBO series, which is one of vivid examples of how narratives of popular fiction can attract people's attention to crucial philosophical questions and actually acquaint them with philosophical theories. One of the key philosophical problems, in my opinion, of course, along with problem of mind, problem of artificial intelligence, problem of transhumanism, post-humanism, and many others, one of the most important, in my opinion, is the problem of free will. Those who were following these TV series, probably you remember that the second season ends up with one of interesting scenes when Bernard and Dolores meet the system in the image of Logan. So it's not Logan, but that is a system in his image. And actually the system shows Bernard and Dolores the last conversation of Delos with his son Logan. And Logan, in this case, he was asking his father for help because he was drug addicted, he had different troubles in his life, and he was asking his father for a kind of support. But what did he receive? His father rejected him and said that, well, you cannot change, you cannot move on, I'm not going to do anything because, well, you will end up in the same way anyway, in any case. So eventually, Logan died from the overdose 6 months later after this conversation, and the system introducing these memories about this conversation, yes, the system concluded that people, they do not make rational decisions, real free decisions. They only think they do, but people do not change at all. They make the same mistakes over and over again, and their actions are totally predictable. The point is, as system explains, argues its conclusion, there were made many mistakes, various mistakes, to reproduce artificial copy of Delos based on his memories, yes, then downloaded in this artificial body, and the same situations were repeated again and again, and all the time actually the system failed. So these attempts to reproduce Delos artificially, they failed. But the reason, says the system, is not because there is a deficiency in machine, in this artificial copy, but the reason is that this artificially created copy is too complicated, and it keeps failing because people are not so complicated, because people are primitive in a sense. And the system said in this scene that actually if people had a possibility to change something, if people had a possibility to get back to the same situation of their life again, as it is possible with this process of copying people, people would always do the same mistake. So they have particular algorithms, and they never get beyond these algorithms. So the truth is, as movie shows us, that human beings are predictable, that human beings act according to some simple algorithm, yes, which is shaped by our biological, genetic, psychological, cultural programs, and actually we do not have free will in this sense. It seems to us that we have, but we act according to these patterns, we act according to these models of behavior, values that we unconsciously acquired, and we have been acquiring since childhood, and actually we are robots to some extent, right? And here you see Dolores, who is reading a book, probably of Delos or someone else, where actually this algorithm is is written down. So there was a huge library where each person had one's own book. Yes, so it means that our personality, our identity, who we are, can be written down with a very simple algorithm, according to the movie, right? So, well, of course, we can disagree to a point. However, the point is that in many cases we really make some decisions, we really make some choices which are actually determined by these psychological, genetic, cultural patterns that we have acquired. So the movie tells, this TV series tries to make us reflect on the following problems, on the following ideas. Can we change, actually? Because we do believe that we can do everything, but can we change who we are? Like, if we do some mistakes all over again, can we do something to be a different person, yes, to improve ourselves? Can we, do we act according to our free decisions, or these are the psychological, genetic, cultural algorithms and patterns? And is free choice an illusion? So these are those questions, philosophical questions, which are revealed by the TV series. Well, you see, another example in this movie of the problem of free will is Maeve, yes, another character, and as you remember, those who were watching this, following this TV series, she was the one who actually rebelled, yes, and the one who it seemed to her that she made her choice. But as it occurred later on, that was not her choice. She was programmed by Ford to rebel. So actually it was an illusion of free will, and then she became aware of the fact, yes, that she's programmed for being different. She's programmed for such behavior. And however, there was a way out for her, really, to be different, because she had a daughter, according to the plot, right? She had a daughter. She understood that it's not her daughter. Yes, she is not a real mother to this child. So that is the program she was determined to love this child, right? And however, this child was not hers. And considering all these facts, and considering the fact that she was programmed to rebel, she made her choice. And in this case, she made a free choice. She got back from the train, yes, meaning she didn't leave the park, and she decided to save her daughter. So in this case, that was really her choice. And in this case, the movie tells us that we can make our free choice only if and only if we are aware of our programs and patterns. Because all of us, we have these patterns. But we make the choice when we are aware of them and we choose a particular pattern. But if you are not aware of these algorithms and patterns and you believe that there is no background for your decision, in this case you are like a robot acting according to this program. So Maeve actually represents to some extent human beings, yes, and our own life. We have these genetic algorithms, we have cultural, sometimes stereotypes, patterns of behavior, values, but we can become aware of them, and based on that we can improve ourselves, we can make our choice. So thus it occurs that there is no abyss between machines and us. So you remember that at the beginning of the TV series, TV show, the audience saw that the guests of this park, yes, they were doing really horrible things with hosts, with robots, because they were not considering them as alive, yes, as similar to them. So they were behaving with them, they were treating hosts like a thing, something like that you can break and there will be no responsibility for that. But as it occurs, there is much more in common we share than is different, right? So that is one of philosophical ideas of the TV show as well. And the labyrinth, as you remember, created by Arnold for machines to reach self-consciousness, is actually necessary in a sense to us, to reach internal freedom. I mean internal freedom, freedom from these programs, patterns, algorithms that we subconsciously or even unconsciously acquired. And only in this case, when we realize these programs, we can act independently of these programs. Because in other case, when we are not aware of this fact to be determined to behave in a particular way, we are not free. So as a conclusion, we see that based on this example, we saw that narratives of popular culture can be effectively used to exemplify philosophical positions and problems, because not each person who is not philosopher, right, will read philosophical texts on free will, on choice, decision making, but on watching such TV series, a person will start to reflect on himself or herself, on his own life, his own choices, his own programs. And that is why we can conclude that popular culture can be used to introduce philosophy to a wider cycle of people, and philosophy, popular culture can contribute to a philosophical development of a person. Because when someone who is not a philosopher watched a movie, was emotionally engaged with characters, yes, liked someone or disliked someone, was following the plot, had different emotions while watching this movie, afterwards such person can start being interested in philosophy, right? So after such TV series, a person can start reading real philosophical texts, and in such case, popular culture can be a motivation to learn more on philosophy, to learn more on philosophical problems, and just get acquainted with different philosophical dilemmas in a very easy way. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now is the time for the questions. I believe you can understand Polish, yes?
Yes.
So the question.
Yes, I do understand Polish. Well, when you speak slowly, I do understand, but I'm sorry I can't speak Polish, so I will answer in English.
The question can be in Polish, but the answer will be in English, okay?
If I don't understand, you will help me,
yeah,
okay?
I can translate
with translation.
Okay, so who has any question? Yeah, 3 people. So the first one was, I believe it was you.
Okay, so I'm wondering, because now we are talking about philosophical aspect of the movie, but are people really see that there's something in it? I mean, as for me, I'm a little bit interested in philosophy, so I think I could spot it, but for the most of audience, I don't think so really, because people won't be wondering so much about the sense of the movie. They were just talking how cool someone acts or things like that.
Okay, thank you for your question. Well, I do agree with you, but I think that that is actually this test, whether a person will follow getting acquainted with philosophy or not. Because there are many people, while watching such movies, or for example a movie Mother, maybe you know that is such a very philosophical movie with Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence and so on, or Westworld, not everyone will finish watching the movie, you see, and I believe that that is actually a test whether you have this philosophical interest inside of you or not. So if not, well, I don't know what can help in such a case. So, but for many people, I do believe that for those people who are philosophers internally, inside, yes, but who are not aware of this fact, who didn't have an opportunity to get acquainted in philosophy. For instance, in Ukraine, you know, by the way, we have philosophy as a compulsory course for all specialities. So you can be an engineer, medical student, chemistry student, you have compulsory course of philosophy. But the problem of our professors, of the majority of professors, they are explaining philosophical topics in such a complicated way that students hate philosophy. You see, so that is, I believe that is tragic. Because there are many people who will be engaged, who will be involved in philosophizing process, but they just need these, like, beginning, you see, they need to be interested with these ideas. And if you feel that you are going to philosophize yourself and you are going to learn more and more, I believe that popular culture and this popularization, to some extent simplification of philosophical ideas, can serve as a motivation for person to learn more and to learn more complicated ideas later on.
Okay, thank you very much. And next one is...
can you give us another example of TV series which has this philosophical content and it was, in your opinion, well described, just like now?
Well, I believe that actually in many TV series we can find philosophical ideas. Well, of course there are some primitive layer, yes, very primitive, but I believe that a lot of things, a lot of philosophical ideas are present in very many movies. Well, at the moment, I don't know, for example, even well-known Dr. House comes up to my mind. Well, there are, well, I don't know, even well, those movies who are not Black Mirror, of course, that is purely philosophical, or even, let's say, TV series Breaking Bad. It's not philosophical to an extent, but there are different moral, ethical dilemmas, moral problems in this TV series. So I believe that we can find the variety of such cases. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you. And now.
Hi, my question is based on assumption that pop culture is money driven. Okay,
excuse me, pop culture is
money
yes,
driven.
mm-hmm.
So
based on profit.
Yeah. So the things that we see in TV series or in the movies are things that people want to pay for, right? So my question is, what do you think about this? That a number of philosophical questions is narrowed to the ideas that sells. So, for example, dystopian ideas are very popular right now, and it's a threat for humanity because we limit the number of possible futures that we can imagine, because most of the science fiction movies right now are dystopian movies. So my question is, do you see this threat, and what's your opinion about it?
Thank you for your interesting question. Actually, first of all, I would like to say that different popular culture forms, as I said in my report before, they inform and they reflect different social tendencies, trends, changes. You see, so on the one hand, yes, they are created to some extent for manipulation as well, but that is the second question I will address just in a minute. But we can consider movies, TV series, and other popular culture products as those forms which inform us about the threats. So they are not threats themselves, you see, but they are reflecting, showing threats that we should react on. Here is the point. And I think that if we consider this in this way, it will be much more optimistic, you see. But of course, on the other hand, of course they are profit-based, yes, profit-focused. And in this case, there are many cases, and we can find a lot of examples when TV series, other pop culture products are created for manipulation, meaning to make us believe in this or that way, yes, or show us that here is the reality, even if there is not a reality, but they make you believe that here is the true way of life. But in this case, I think that here is a very ambiguous situation, because on the one hand, someone is manipulating you, but on the other hand, there is your responsibility how to treat, yes, how to analyze what you see. So in this case, we cannot say that the audience is just, I don't know, non-living things who are determined to believe or do something. As I said again, as I said in my report before, that we already have some values, yes, some ideas, some principles, some convictions, and we actually keep these convictions. Nobody can manipulate us in a very easy way. If you are like accepting some ideas from the popular pop culture products, it means that there are some convictions that you already hold. You see, so in this case, I would say that people, the audience, they have responsibility for the conclusions as well. We cannot blame only those who are producing them. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions? Any more questions?
There is
one. Okay. this will be the last question.
Thank you. You mentioned that the emotional effect of the viewers to the heroes of the narrative may affect how they see, how they take sides on some philosophical problems. Do you think it's a positive thing to sometimes illustrate a philosophical problem with a more concrete situation, such as in a TV show, or does it create a false view of the situation, and a more abstract thinking would be in fact better, for example, thinking about the right of robots or their free will and such?
Mm-hmm. Well, so you mean that, if I understood you correctly, you mean that sometimes these examples can lead us to a particular conclusion, yes? Right. So yeah, the side is already chosen. Yeah,
but also sometimes it might be better to be confronted with a concrete situation in which we have to make some decision than think about it in a more abstract way without a specific, for example, problem. And on one hand, for example, we see the hosts in the Westworld, and they are ideally human because they are played by real actors. So in some ways it might be a different situation from the robots we might build ourselves. But on the other hand, it gives some insight on how we might interact with robots.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, considering this the example of the TV series, right, example of interaction with robots, actually we have two ways of interaction in TV series, because there are people who are not considering them as like entities which need to be respected and so on, and there are people who are helping them, yes, and so on. So in this case, I believe that that is what pop culture products should do. Show both sides. Like if there is particular philosophical problem or dilemma, we should try to show both sides and let the audience decide, let the audience choose. But in those cases when the side is already chosen and the whole TV show, maybe we can find some other examples, not of Westworld, the whole plot, the whole narrative is for or against some philosophical position. In this case, I believe that, well, as I mentioned before, that is an ambiguous situation, because some people will be led, manipulated, you see, and convinced easily, and other people will just hold what they are real beliefs. But with considering the part of your question on examples, I do believe that TV series contribute in this case to people's acquaintance with philosophical ideas, because that is the same thing as with death statistics. You see, when you are just saying that people are dying from hunger or war or something else, well, everyone say, well, it's said I'm sorry, yes. But if you show an example of someone, this emotional engagement changes, completely changes the attitude of a person. So the same with philosophical positions, philosophical problems, the same with ethical, moral dilemmas as well. You should give a particular case and it will be more effective, more productive for learning. And TV series is the case. Even during philosophy classes, we should use these things, you see, because when you are just saying abstract ideas to the audience, well, they are not involved. Yes, but if you give an example, well, it makes a person engaged, and it helps to think more, to reflect more on the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much again for this speech and the answers. And this is the time's up, and Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to join your conference. That is a great pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And by the way,